Welcome back to Beards and Brews. Hey, we're about to wrap up our Jean-Claude Van Damme-uary. And if you're into that, be sure to subscribe or follow no matter where you're listening, because not only does it help us out, you'll know exactly when we have another one brewing. Over the past couple weeks, we've been going over some Van Damme movies, and we're going to finish right here, right now. He was a fighter in the sheets and a fighter in the streets.
Yes.
What do you guys think of Street Fighter?
Every Jean-Claude Van Damme movie ever created has been more Street Fighter than this Street Fighter film.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot of street fighting going on. What I see is no one having acting direction. Every single actor in this movie thinks that they are in a different movie than what they are in.
Absolutely. Especially Ken and Ryu. They're just like fucking B-plot ahoy.
Yeah, just some nerf-wielding buddy cops running around causing mischief. Meanwhile, cooked out Jean-Claude is like flexing at the cameras and sweating profusely.
Yeah, we got Jean-Claude Van Damme as Colonel Guile. He's the main protagonist in this, I guess, the driving force, I guess, and they use him just enough.
And the movie flourishes because of it, finally. They know exactly how much Van Damme is required for a Van Damme movie. Like, the movie even goes out of its way to kind of, like, cut to somebody else while he's talking, so he can just ADR his lines later. He doesn't have to get it right then and there. Like, they knew exactly what to do.
They didn't have to, but they still did. They should have ADR'd somebody that speaks fucking American English as an American, right? Right?
Dude, oh man.
Is that racist?
No, because, I mean, canonically, the character is a U.S. Air Force soldier, and it makes no sense that he's like a member of the fucking AN or whatever, the made-up UN. This
Right.
whole, you mentioned the budget, it went to cocaine and that boat.
Cocaine and cocaine accessories.
Like that boat, yeah.
It's used for smuggling.
I don't know, I thought this was a pretty good romp. Like, I am so used to 90s video game movies just kind of being hot ass. Like, when they get this IP, they just have no clue how to interpret it for the big screen. There's this weird filler in movies like, you know, the Super Mario Brothers movie. Like, I don't know what the fuck the fungus was about, but it wasn't it. I feel like with this one, there's at least time for everybody to not only be unfortunately heard but seen. Like, this movie is for like all the 12-year-old boys out there that played Street Fighter in 1993. And to be honest, if I was that old then and I got to see these characters, which at least dressed like them after a while, I guess I'd be pretty stoked.
At a certain point, they're dressed like them. Before that, they're just dudes.
Disguised as another dude.
So, as a child that did watch this and was a gigantic fan of said franchise, I was beyond confused. Like, literally, beyond
That's fair.
confused. I knew what I was getting into when I saw Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Because, again, as a child action star, I was like, yeah, he's fine. I don't care about his
Right.
accent. But the issue is, there's no fucking street fighting. This is a war biopic instead of Street Fighter. Give me blood sport with cosplay, and I'm set.
That is fair, but the movie does, at the very top, try to give you something. And that something is M. Bison, and by God, is the best part of the movie.
Of course.
Thank God. Yeah, Raul Julia plays M. Bison, and he is putting on like, if the Razzies had an award for, all right, we know this movie is ass, but this guy gives a great performance in it award, give it to Raul Julia.
Not only did he understand the assignment, he wrote the fucking book. That's how much fun he was in this movie. I loved every moment. We have this dichotomy, right? Like, we really hate when people take shit a little too seriously. Raul Julia, I fucking believed he could run some country like a dictator. That's how fucking good his performance is. On the other hand, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Let me tell you my point of view coming into this. So I did play the Street Fighter games growing up, at least up to a certain point, like maybe the Super Nintendo era, you know, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo or whatever. Played a lot of that. This was the first time that I'm seeing this movie. Watched it for the very first time, literally last night. I'm pretty sure whoever wrote this screenplay wrote to Capcom and was like, all right, let me know what these characters are all about. Capcom wrote back, I don't know.
I like how Capcom's run by our old Gumbo buddy in the last movie we watched.
Diabetes.
You would think that it wouldn't be so hard with the stable of guys you got. They know actual martial arts. They are given, I couldn't even tell you how many situations a fight is teased, and there might be like a punch and or a kick thrown, and then it's immediately abruptly ended to then go into a 15-minute segment cutting between every character that you can think of, talking about anything but fighting one another.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Yeah, we really should have spent more time at like Bison's little hideout or whatever it is, Sagat's little, I don't know, that place where they had like, you know, underground street fighting where we get to see Vega and Sagat. We needed more of that.
Well, right at the top, the movie very much kind of gives you what you want. Like, you have M. Bison, he does have his base, and he has like a fighting octagon.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. And like, these people are rolling in, and they're just like trying to fight him. I'm like, okay, there's at least half of what we were looking for. And I agree, you're right. Like, there should have been a little more of this. It almost feels like, at worst, this movie is like 70 minutes of setup. And we could have already just been like fighting around the world, like Russell Crowe.
Fighting around the world. Yeah, I don't think they made it any easier because in the game, everyone knows, you know, you've got guys from all over the place. Like, how do we do this even? Like, this movie's got, we already talked about Jean-Claude Van Damme, who is Belgian, but he's American in this. Raul Julia as M. Bison. We got Chun-Li, played by Ming-Na Wen. Kylie Minogue as Cammy. We got a couple of guys who I don't know at all playing Ken and Ryu. And the big thing here is you've got people who can fight, and you've got people who can act. And no one in the whole fucking movie can do both.
Yeah. Even Raul Julia, as much as I'll elevate him, he was flying, y'all.
Electromagnets.
Of course.
What gets me on the yes scale, just the absurdity of every performance. We mentioned it earlier, but like Jean-Claude doesn't know what he's going for. So he just goes with pure intensity, like turn to 10 at all times. Every time he's on screen, he's semi-yelling, he's semi-angry. He doesn't make a lot of sense, which is fine.
Right.
But then you will immediately be contrasted by Kylie Minogue, who I can't get out of my head, just standing there dry as a fucking desert lake. Just, oh no, Colonel, you missed the tattoo under his shirt that for some reason after you jump kicked and knocked him out, I took it upon myself to fall on my knees and rip this man's shirt open. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Did you like how that scene played out? That dude's tattoo was a little smaller than it should have been. I feel like it should have been a little bit more noticeable because the scene and how it was framed, they ripped the guy's shirt off and they have the reaction of like, ah, this man's a man.
Yeah, basically.
So I mentioned that there are some who can fight and some who can act. Bless her heart, Kylie Minogue, you can't do either. She put on one of the most abysmal performances as Cammy that why did they choose Kylie Minogue for this? Like, she is a pop singer, right?
Yeah. Well, they chose Van Damme as an American. There's some choices in this movie, by the way.
There certainly were.
Talk about a choice. Let's talk about Dhalsim, all right? This is a fire-spitting, yoga practicing, levitating, fucking stretchy man. He is a scientist prisoner of war that turns Chun-Li into a abomination mix of some sort of ginger aboriginal Hulk.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right. That was a choice. Like, Blanka's supposed to be, like, huge, right? He rolls out of that fucking tube looking like Carrot Blanc.
Yes.
Perfect.
So let's set the stage here. We start off with a big exposition dump about what's going on. M. Bison, this warlord from wherever, has seized 63 relief workers. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's captured 15 soldiers. They're prisoners of war now. They've been kidnapped and held in his compound in Shadaloo City, which they don't say, but is absolutely in Cambodia. And Guile, an American soldier, is leading a group of allied nations to get those hostages back. That's what we're gonna do.
Sure. I'm just sure. Like, I know it's a divorcing itself from the movies, and it's trying to like make it digestible. I think at least for the adults that took their kids to see the movie, because they need some kind of like real world implication. Hopefully,
a plot.
Yeah, just like some foundation because the kids are there to see asses getting whipped. Whatever.
Hey, what if we just like brought them to a place and made them fight each other? No, we got to leave that for Mortal Kombat in 4 years.
As much as I don't mind the plot, like it's kind of whatever. I'm kind of here just to see what everybody does. I was very curious about this because, like, man, I kind of wish they would have just stuck with it because the whole movie, like, M. Bison's like, I'm gonna kidnap the queen. They're gonna accept my bison bucks. I'm like, it's one or the other. All right, there's like,
sure, buddy.
You don't need that because we're here to see someone else glued to Van Damme's foot instead of Lance Hendrickson.
But think about it: are bison bucks and camel cash interchangeable?
I think there's got to be some kind of exchange rate.
I still need to get that Harrier jet that they were offering.
Ooh,
that was Pepsi, wasn't it?
And it's the choice of a new generation.
Much like this film is the choice of a generation that wants to see street fights not happen.
It's a little puzzling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Only because, like, the movie sets up opportunities. They're in a city, and they, like, capture a bunch of people, and they're about to drive out into the city where there are these streets. Like, at any moment, a brawl could break out. But the movie decides to just be like, no, we're going to fight here. And it's not going to be that good.
100% the most missed opportunity is there is no single time in this entire movie where there's just two guys kicking the shit out of a car on the street. Missed opportunity altogether. Come on.
Okay. But I gotta say, the biggest missed opportunity was the banger ass soundtrack. Like, each stage had an amazing BGM, and they didn't use any of them. Like, truly missed.
No, the biggest opportunity, there is not a single Hadouken in this 1 hour, 40-minute runtime.
You're right, not one.
I know this movie's trying its best to be grounded in reality, as I quote my fingers, but like, they could have just fucking pulled it out. Pocket sand, same thing.
Yep.
We do get to see a plethora of special moves, though. We get the Psycho Crusher that you just mentioned by Bison. He does his little flippy kick thing, and then you get to see Jean-Claude Van Damme do the flash kick, which honestly looks really fucking cool.
Isn't that when he jumped out of that tube?
No, that was just the big, like, wada kick that Liu Kang does. He's like,
oh yeah, because like I did not see him stand or be on the ground at all. The door opened, he was just already in the air, just traveling,
already waiting, come out floating in.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something that took me out. There are at least twice in this movie when somebody delivers a kick and says, like they're reading it off the page, "Hi-ya!"
It's in the script, okay? That's their job. They've never played Street Fighter.
Those are the words. You gotta say the words.
Both Ryu and Ken get a little move. You get the Shoryuken from Ken. That's the spinning uppercut, which he never leaves the ground. The man literally does like a pirouette uppercut, which is just so dainty.
Whack.
And then you get the Yo Fleck the Fluken, which is jump spin tornado kick that Ryu does. And unfortunately, it's just a, again, pirouette on one foot, spinning back kick, but it's meant to be that, which is sad, but it's there.
Well, both Ken and Ryu in this movie are just the whole dudes, both whack. Like, I don't know who these guys are, what they were trying to get out. I feel like they're two of the luckiest dudes in the world. They just got picked to be in this movie. They're like, fuck, Jean-Claude Van Damme signing on. We've got careers, fellas.
Well, like, I have to think that they originally planned for these roles to go to someone else. Like, Ken 100% wants to be Emilio Estevez.
Oh,
like, that role had to have been written for Emilio Estevez. I can't believe otherwise.
That's not bad, especially for the time period. Yeah, so that means the other guy would have been that, Liu Kang. I was just like, oh, what's that guy from Beverly Hills Ninja? It's fucking Liu Kang.
Yeah, let him have both.
Now, we're on the subject of Ryu and Ken. They're going to be our first fights, quote unquote. And we get Vega, who I think is perfectly cast. He's a gorgeous man with a cowl. Man, oh man, it's time to street fight. Just kidding. There's a tank through the wall, and Jean-Claude's there with this fucking shit-eating grin, delivering one of the worst one-liners.
Well, it's because he reads this line like he tells his jokes. No breath in between. No subtlety. He just rolls in, "You're under arrest!"
Smile.
Big smile, too. In fact, you were right earlier. Like, every line that he has is just yelled it just so much intensity because that's, I think, the only thing he can emote. Like, really trying to phonetically get what he has right.
Fair.
Hostages, we are coming.
Realistically, he only has like one really long piece of dialogue, and that's his like speech, quotey fingers again, that he gives like 2/3 of the way through the movie. Otherwise, he keeps it very tight.
Yes.
I fucking love that because he's like cutting a wrestling promo. He is flexing his bicep, sweating profusely, and screaming into a camera like Jesse the Body Ventura. Hostages, we're coming, brother. You know, just at any minute, he's gonna rip his fucking shirt off, and Real American's gonna start playing.
100%. Yeah, this was the first. This was the first meeting with Chun-Li, and Chun-Li in this is basically April O'Neil. I know you told me not to steal that. That's what she is. She is April O'Neil in this, but she has a vendetta too. We'll get to it, but in this interview, man, Guile's just being a dick to her, huh?
Yeah, that's the kind of the whole movie between those two. Like, he's either soliciting her for some sexual act in exchange for an interview, or just like treating her like a piece of furniture and just ignoring her completely.
I do not respect you until I decided that I'd like to sleep with you.
The last line in the movie between those two are literally him being like, I'll give you the interview if you wear that outfit, and gives her a long, hard look up and down.
We'll get into that, but man, it takes way too long for everybody to get into the outfits that we know them by. We should have figured out some way to start out in those outfits. Like, she doesn't need to be a news reporter. Put her in that outfit. Give her some kind of backstory. She's a prisoner in this outfit. That's like putting Princess Leia and making her the face of the game, but she's wearing like the golden bikini.
They did the same to poor Cammy. They cover her up hardcore, and if you played those games, Cammy does not wear clothes. She's in like a singlet.
Kylie Minogue couldn't act. She did not have any opportunities to really fight in this. She was awful, but she could fucking get it.
She's terrible at any aspect in being involved with this movie, but she is a bit of eye candy.
Oh, and speaking of candy, thank you. What I've got here today is some liquid candy. This is from Tarantula Hill Brewing Company out of Thousand Oaks, California, I believe. Yep. So this has got a thick foamy head on it, and let me tell you, this is dry. It's a hazy boy, but it's not like super tropical, or there's not like pineapple juice or grapefruit juice. This is a dry hopped IPA, and it feels like it. It's green, it's lush, it's dank. This is good. I'll take it.
Well, you know what else is good? Any fucking reason to get right back to Raul Julia.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Of course.
I enjoy the fact that the man has taken hostages to create a genetic soldier, to create the perfect being. All right? Because his master plan is that he's building a mall. Okay? He's building a mall, and the food court goes just there, and he needs these genetic Blankas to work in.
This sounds crazy, but we see the layout of Bisonopolis, and we get a really cool scene, just a little snippet of a scene a little bit later with it. But that's real. That's what he wants.
It sounds silly, but he's a businessman. It's all about Bisonomics, all right? You gotta start at the top.
Yes.
It'll trickle down.
Oh, it's pee. It's just pee.
Oops, all pee.
What makes this work is what you mentioned, Eric. It's Raul Julia's character. He's so eccentric, yet so what's the word? Determined?
Charismatic.
Yes.
Yeah. That you cannot avoid being into whatever he's doing. Okay, think about this as a principle. You have a war movie. There is a bad guy dictator who is taking over the world, taking hostages, doing terrible things.
Can't imagine.
And he's wearing a hot red rubber suit with a red Nazi cap, and he's like, you know what, guys? We're going to make this work. Go get my Hugh Hefner smoking jacket, get me a Chun-Li, and we're going to have some fruity drinks. And he's so fucking good at it that you just accept it.
That's how much of a fucking cliff that he exists on where everyone else is below him. The scene that he's wearing that in, he has like a really brief talk with Chun-Li, and he has one of the greatest lines I have ever heard, and it's in the movie Street Fighter.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. I wrote that down.
Yeah, I think that's Thanos from all those Revenger movies. He stole it. He's like, that day was the most important day of your life. For me, that was just fucking Tuesday.
Damn! Yeah, dude. And he delivers it so smooth and with such a look on his face that he's like, yeah, I'm sorry that it happened, but who fucking cares?
It is completely inconsequential to me.
He just
Like-
hand waves the whole genocide. Yeah, you know.
Like, there's some other things to talk about in this scene too. Like, we can go ahead and get on it, but there's a painting in the background that we see of M.
Oh,
Bison's face on like that classic Napoleon portrait, and it goes
Right.
fucking hard. That is a dope painting to have.
I'm really glad you brought it up because it's one of my favorite bits in the movie, only because Raul Julia sells M. Bison so well. And he doesn't even have to say anything. The painting already, holy shit, this is fucking propaganda. But then it like hard cuts like a 180 cut to him making that same expression.
Perfect.
On the other wall, you've got the like classic John Wayne Gacy like clown photo that's like on that acid bath cover. He's got that there too, but it's fucking M. Bison instead. It's incredible.
He's always there, and he's always turning it in, and he's always turning it on. The problem
Yeah.
that you have in this film is not him. It's not even most of the supporting actors. It's the fact that aside from him and Chun-Li when they have their back and forth to develop a real plot, nothing else in this movie makes fucking sense. Like, Guile fakes his death.
Yeah.
All right? He fakes his death with Ryu and Ken, in which there's a perfect opportunity for a quote-unquote street fight. Instead, you get a drive-by. Like, what the fuck?
So, plot catch up. What happens is, you know, Ryu and Ken, whenever they're down there dealing fake arms to Sagat and Vega, they get caught. Well, at the same time, Guile's crew rolls in and is like, hey, everybody's under arrest. So everybody goes to prison, and while they're in prison, none of this needs to happen, by the way. This is a Street Fighter game. While they're in prison, they bust right out, and then just straight up return to Sadat's little hideaway.
But think about that, though. Another line delivered by Raul Julia, the Bison.
Of course.
Sagat's character has one eye missing, and according to lore, he shouldn't, because he loses that eye, and his scar on his chest is both from Ryu. Anyways, he's missing an eye, and Ryu can betray him. And Bison looks at him and covers one eye and goes, I guess you didn't see that coming, did ya? And you're just like, damn, dude.
Yeah, damn. Because like the way he sells the character, you're just like, stop being cold. You know, just fucking stop it. You're just like a stone cold dude.
Yeah, the thing that I really want to pound in is how every single actor in this movie, every character is delivering a performance that is for a different movie. We mentioned, you know,
Right.
Ken and Ryu, they've got their buddy cop thing going on. Sagat wants to be a Bond villain, 100%. He wants to be a James Bond villain, and he does a pretty good job at it. What are we saying Vega wants to be in? I know you think he was cast perfectly, and he may be. I don't know Vega's backstory.
He's just a pretty henchman.
In fact, his role in this movie just kind of feels like, well, he was in the game.
Agreed.
Yeah, to me, it's like, man, Sagat really needed to come out of this with a roommate.
They were roommates?
They were roommates. These boys are gay. Maybe not like all the way gay. I mean, Vega, probably, but these boys. This Vega to me just comes off with the same kind of charisma as like Rick the Model Martel.
That's perfect. It's perfect for what Vega's character is. So in the game, Vega is just a super vain cage fighter that fights in Spain. He even is one of the few characters that can use the environment as a special. Like on his level, you can jump on the cage and Vega jumps on there. He's like, Vega, hit! And jumps off and hits you, which is some bullshit because you can't hit him when he's on the cage.
I love that little sound bite that you gave us right there.
Hey, that's what he does.
You had mentioned how everything feels kind of weird, especially the whole idea with Jean-Claude Van Damme just like faking his death and all that shit. It's just the execution raises more questions. Like, he laid down on that slab for like, what, 2-3 days or something like that, just waiting for Chun-Li to show up and be like, oop, you scared me.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I don't know how was he just like getting up and sneaking drinks of water? How was he surviving?
That's what I'm saying. He waited there patiently for the jump scare.
Gotcha, bitch.
Okay, he lays on a morgue slab until he's discovered. I did this so we could do a sneak attack. He immediately goes outside, gets on the news, and tells Bison that he's coming. He then gets into a stealth boat from like fucking Thunder in Paradise starring Terry Bollea, aka Hulk Hogan, and start just driving to Shadaloo announced.
This was like, hey, we're coming for you. And then like the UN guy comes on and is like, hey, actually, we gave him the money, $20 billion is what he was asking. We gave it to him. So like, war is undeclared. You don't have to go. Y'all can just like pack it up and go home. We're good here. Guile's just like, nah, I'm going. We're going.
I'm in the boat. I'm not getting out of the boat.
And we get another Super Street Fighter reference where Bison deploys bombs using the Street Fighter 2 arcade control deck.
Yeah, I saw that. Like, there's a lot of little things like that where you're just like, I should be mad, but I'm not. I actually like that.
It's a little cringy, and I know exactly why it's there, because as soon as like little Timmy in 93 sees it, he's like, oh my god, the fighting stick and all that, you know, it's in the movie.
Dad, I need quarters. I gotta go to the arcade.
Not now, damn it!
At the point where we get to the boat, that's kind of like the movie in a nutshell. You just have that like both ends of the spectrum and not a lot in the middle. You have on the great end, of course, once more, M. Bison, Raul Julia, Rip, and all that. But on the other end, you have an invisible boat blowing up stock footage. What are we doing?
We are assaulting an island for no good reason. There is a mutant monster that he's gonna like fucking mercy kill in the basement.
Yo.
He almost did, yeah. He was about to blow that dude's head off.
Yeah.
It made me laugh.
Okay, this is a part of his peacekeeping mission. He's like one of his soldiers that's been captured. He knows this guy personally. He walks in and is like, what have they done to you? Well, might as well old yeller you. You can't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He didn't even check if he was okay. He just saw that he was ugly and was about to smoke him.
It's for the best, okay? He's got him down in the Sarlacc pit. You gotta do something. You can't let him loose. They're gonna see that.
Right.
And I mean, what are you supposed to do?
We can't get to that. We still got like Honda and Zangief. We haven't even talked about Zangief yet. And DJ, I read up a little bit. He's supposed to be based on Billy Blanks, which is interesting. That's a thing. But he's just this awful Jamaican guy who's just like, I don't know, a lackey, right?
Kind of feels that way. He shows up more towards the end because he winds up with Bond villain guy. I don't want to say there's a resolution there, but to be honest, I'd rather talk about Lee Van Cleef or whatever.
Zangief is one of the more, I'll say, questionable characters in this. I never would have pictured him as like a naive guy, but like every time he's on screen, he's like, don't you want to fight for the peace and, you know, whatever that our fearless leader, M. Bison, is trying to introduce to the world?
Of course!
You know M. Bison's like the bad guy, right?
He had some great questions, and that's why I love him to death, because he's like, oh, are we the baddies? And he's just like, yeah, what the heck? And he's like, well, if we were baddies, how come you did all the bad stuff? And he's like, well, he paid me a shit ton of money, peace. And then he looks straight to the camera. You got paid?
Yeah, straight out of, what is that, Horrible Bosses?
I don't know. I feel like if there ever were a sequel, he would definitely be a bigger part of it.
I hope so.
I gotta agree, 110%. When you get to see Zangief, he's so out of place because number one, he's perfectly cast. He looks incredible.
That's our boy from Batman Returns.
Oh yeah?
I don't know who he is. He's just like some dude. But I remember we brought him up in Batman Returns, and then when I was looking at the IMDb page, I was like, hey, it's that guy.
Oh, was he just like one of the goons or something? Probably.
Yeah, he's a goon, like a very particular goon. I remember us talking about him.
Ah, yes. The Zangief goon.
Particular goon number 2.
Particular.
But he stands out because he's so well picked. Like, he fits the role perfectly. His accent is perfect for, like, you know, a campy vibe. And it's almost off-putting because he looks like he belongs as to where no one else does. You know what I mean? Like, when you look at him, you go, yeah, that's Zangief. Who's that?
Yeah.
But Ken and Ryu are just like Harold and Kumar.
They are not Ken and Ryu, but that is definitely Zangief. Just like that's Guile, but that's definitely Bison.
Yeah.
The whole subplot with Ryu and Ken just I fucking hated it. Like, I just gotta put out, they're just out there, just the shenanigans that they get, and I'm just like, this ain't it, fellas. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're introduced kind of late to the story, but Honda and Balrog, like, we just get like a little snippet. Oh, our reputations were tarnished by M. Bison, and now we're here to get our reputations back or something. I'm a sumo fighter. He's a boxer. We're working on a TV crew.
I love the little shtick. It just sounds very sitcom-y, you know? He's a sumo, and I'm the other guy. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are just actors. Those guys are not Honda and Balrog or whatever. They're just there.
But Zangief gets his moment in the sun with Honda, which is kind of cool, where they get to do the Godzilla reference, and they're fighting in the model city of Bisonopolis.
Oh, man.
That's so good.
But why did they have to hit me with the Godzilla sound like 8 fucking times in a row? Like, didn't even let it play out. It was, I'm like, stop. I know.
Only if the first half second was public domain.
Oh.
It did tickle me that, like, the people watching the TV were like, can they hear this?
They're watching it on, like, just a little, like, CRT, like a flickery CRT TV, too, like you'd see in, like, I don't know, 1960s Japan. And it's just perfect. Just the right amount of, like, meta.
Even Jean-Claude Van Damme sprinkles in a couple of meta jokes, but, like, once more, his delivery leaves everything off the table.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just get this out of the way. This movie is not good, but it's hella enjoyable. Like, there's a lot to like in here. I don't know if y'all feel the same way, but I had a good time.
I do. It's charming. It's very charming, given all of its massive flaws.
Yeah.
Like, I mentioned it before the cast, just between us, like, man, every scene that Raul Julia is in, it feels just like a warm hug of entertainment. Like, it's just this weird feeling. Maybe it's just because it is like a ferociously 90s movie, and like it doesn't even matter if I don't have any Street Fighter nostalgia. It's just nostalgia nonetheless.
They're injecting it into your veins like they injected that anabolic plasma into Blanka.
Yeah, and I'm gonna turn into a green freak, and Jean-Claude's gonna put me the fuck out of my misery.
Yeah, you're gonna turn into a wizard. It's Jean-Claude's pronunciation of everything in here is so redneck American that maybe that's what they're going for. He's not French, he's just Creole again.
No, we got past it, man. We're somewhere else.
It's who he is.
I got one thing that he put down that I had to write down and specify his pronunciation on it because it was so fucking when the boats arrive on the island or whatever it is, and you know, they're like, Bison, he's surrounded now. There's still no sign of him. He is probably hiding.
Listen, man. It was a hot day or something. Maybe he's not hydrated. He's not thinking straight.
One
Right?
take. That's all we get for that line. I don't care what you said. One take.
Is that a good take? Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get down to it. We got the final battle, I guess. M. Bison versus Guile. Exactly what we knew it would be.
Yeah, and the movie, like I said earlier, just relents. There's just like breath of finally. And as look, I'm gonna say, as rough as this fight is, because Raul Julia is going through some shit at the time, and also he's an older man. It's fucking great. I love this. It's just so face value. It's so matter of fact. Like they verbatim just like took it out of the game and did their best to try to translate it on the screen. I don't want to say I laughed, but I humbly chuckled through this entire scene because like it's just cheese. It's just fromage.
Cheese grommet.
It's almost like they could have put a graphic on the screen that just says boss fight straight out of like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Like they could have been that meta with it.
100%. There's even a fake out and a second phase.
Oh yeah, dude.
He gets his second life bar. Guile knocks him into that electronic panel. He dies, I guess, and then you start seeing it's like, oh, life support, a new bar of health.
Round two.
He even delivers a new line. He's yelling, I beheld Satan, and he fell from heaven like lightning, and he's delivering it. So fucking good.
No, the line that got me was, what's wrong, Captain? You came here expecting to find a madman, and instead you found a god?
I believed it. I fucking believed it. if this weren't a character and Raul Julia decided to, I don't know, take over Cuba or something like that, like, he's got it in spades.
Sign me up.
Yeah, he has that, like, charismatic dictator kind of fuel in him that burns so brightly. And even, like, in the moment where he gets just, like, super kicked into those dozen or so TVs, there was just, like, something in his, like, final yell that just, like, oh, you know, it's just like, this is Street Fighter. This is great.
Yeah, let it happen.
Now, after all that, how does the movie wrap up? Everyone has to run away while Bisonopolis blows up or what the fuck ever.
They blow up this entire, like, ancient Cambodian ruin. This is like a temple that would be out of Temple of Doom.
Well, I have to bring it up again. The one thing that I remembered the most about the end, it was just Jean-Claude just macking on Chun-Li in the fucking just driest way possible.
We end up with so many explosions all over the place for no reason at all. Everybody, all of the hostages and everybody gets out safe. And then it's like, oh, where's Guile? Can't seem to find Guile. And then he just stumbles out of the smoke and is like, oh, Chun-Li, would you like to have that interview? I will give it to you if you are naked.
Yeah, it just stops.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. Like, the movie does give the audience kind of what it wants. Right at the very end, everyone jumps, hard pose for the camera, boom, logo, Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I guess.
Come on. It's a little goofy, it's a little cheesy, but like 1993 kids walk out of that place. They're like, you know what? God, that was okay. That last bit's gonna stick with me. That's Street Fighter.
We'll get hyped up for Street Fighter 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. What could have been.
So for me, Raul is a lot of fucking fun. Zangief was good too. Jean-Claude is hard to watch here. He really is. The movie is poorly acted and choreographed with an absolutely terrible plot. It should have just been Bloodsport with cosplay. But I've seen this movie so many fucking times, man. Like, so many fucking times. Because it's so unintentionally funny. Like, you can't help but sit there and smirk at just the ineptness that is happening on screen with a company's IP. It's just being completely misused in some of the best ways. I don't know. If you're looking for a genuinely quote-unquote good movie, no. If you're wanting to see something where you can sit down and just stare at it and chuckle, yeah, Street Fighter all day.
Did you frame it that way? I think I'm going to change my mind and say that this movie is fascinating. I think that's what it is. You watch this movie just to see what was done well and what was just horribly just mistaken. And what makes this movie stand out is it is charming. There's just like this diverse group of talent, you know, from 0 to 10. And it's just insanely fun and entertaining once more to just like watch this charade. It's so crazy. It's a little bit of a zoo sometimes, but it's punctuated with an incredible M. Bison. Rest in peace, Raul Julia. Like, this movie, you can hate it. You can loathe it. But that performance alone is worth the hour 40 recommended.
Yeah, completely agreed. This movie sucks. M. Bison, his performance, Raul Julia, incredible. There's a couple of other, like, actually solid performances in here. I think Ming-Na Wen as Chun-Li is really solid. There's a couple of others as well. Zangief, yeah. But mostly, nobody knows what kind of movie this wants to be, and that is entertaining on its own. The Ryu Ken experience, sure. Kylie Minogue just doing whatever. Holy shit. Yeah. This movie's really entertaining. It's not good, but this is one of those few that are so bad that it's good. It's watchable. It's enjoyable, even.
Well, there you have it. That was Street Fighter. If you have any strong feelings about the movie or the show, leave it in that comment section below.
Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Be sure to bash that bell and anything else that you've got over there so you don't miss what we've got brewing up next. Be sure to check out that Letterboxd too, because that's where all the classy folks are going these days. Letterboxd.
Yeah, but while you're on Letterboxd, you can check out social media too. We got all of it, you know? And if you give us a chance, sometimes we're funny, and we're on YouTube. So, like, if you come over there, maybe we'll earn some Bison bucks, or get a sponsor, you know?
That's like some burger!